Hey folks, welcome back to Bitopex. Welcome to another video. Well, we have a lot happening in the traditional market, which could also affect our cryptocurrencies. So if you don't know, we had a huge last week for SpaceX, which went way above $200. And that was something I mentioned that it was going to happen, mainly because the FOMO was too large. People didn't want to miss this opportunity. But now we saw a shift in narrative. SpaceX started to lose some momentum yesterday, and today it already opened not so good. We are back at towards the $150 for SpaceX, which, if you don't know, it launched at 135. That was the IPO price. And most of the people on X, on social media, everywhere, they were saying, they were telling me, they were being mean to me because I said that this was overpriced. Everyone that was paying $200 for SpaceX was doing a bad deal. And we were saying, no, but we are pricing in that we're going to Mars. We're pricing in that we're going to have a moon base, this sorts of things, right? The thing is, when looking at valuation, when looking at numbers, SpaceX was not profitable. It wasn't even compared to Amazon. It wasn't even compared to all the big dogs that it was going against. So that being said, now we're seeing SpaceX go back towards a balanced price ratio, right? And I still believe that we're going to see very, very soon SpaceX going back towards the $100, maybe even below that. And if it goes below the $100, even though that may not be the bottom, so if you look at how IPOs usually go from launch to 4, 5, 6 months down the road, SpaceX could go to $80, right? But for me, everything below $100 is a good entry because yes, I want to have SpaceX. I just didn't want to buy at IPO prices at all. Imagine if I had bought just when it launched above 150, 180. I don't know what price it launched. I don't remember. But imagine I would be right now in the red. Imagine how many people that were holding the stock. So I'm not talking about the traders. I'm actually talking about people holding the stock, people that believe in it, like they believe in Tesla, like they believe in Nvidia, and they want to be holders. This, for me, is not a good time. And that has brought a huge amount of pressure on tech stocks because a lot of people wanted to flow from one tech stock that was already profitable and put the money into SpaceX. And we saw that actually happening because tech stocks have been going down, but now SpaceX is also going down, mostly because of the selling pressure. But that being said, the rotation may or may not happen from TradFi to crypto. And that is mainly because stocks right now are at their highest valuation in more than 100 years. That's right. We are at a valuation so high that it does really look like a bubble. So eventually, when we have that switch and a huge money rotation across markets, maybe crypto will get some of the liquidity. But it doesn't mean that today is looking good for our cryptocurrencies as well. Now, no, it's not looking good anywhere. So let's take a look at what we have here on CoinMarketCap regarding cryptocurrencies. So starting with Bitcoin, which is right now at 62,481. So we are down 5% almost in the past 7 days and 3.5% just in the past 24 hours. And we have Ethereum at 1662, down 6.5% in the past week. We have BNB at 573, and BNB, for me, I'm always going to repeat that, is a good buy below 600 because Binance as a whole is a very strong company, even if I don't agree with how their position, their currency is a good currency in my opinion. Then we have XRP at 110. XRP, it's hurting so much, it's minus 9% in the past week. Solana is at 69. We have Hyperliquid at $62, down 15% in the past day, in the past week. We have Zcash at 422. We have Stellar surprisingly going up, but Stellar surprisingly is at 0.1931, which is down 12%. But Stellar is something that I'm familiar with, even though I'm not very bullish on it, but I am familiar with the whole ecosystem. Monero is at 318. So you can see that overall the week is not looking good. The 7 days is not looking good. Looking at the Fear and Greed Index, we're right now at 23, and I don't know why. I really don't know why we are at 23. We should be towards the 14, 15 like we were a few days ago because we're down looking on 7 days, on the 7 days on CoinMarketCap. So looking at Bitcoin, you can exactly see what's going on right here. In the 4 hours, we are not good at all. You can see that the Bollinger is opening wide, meaning that we're going to go most likely towards the 61,000 because if you remember how I explained that before, when the Bollinger tightens up, it does a little funnel, usually explodes towards one side, and we already exploded 2 candles below the Bollinger Band. So when it closes below the Bollinger Band twice like this, it means that we have enough momentum to keep going down, which would bring it towards the 2930 right here in the RSI, and also the MACD doesn't look bullish at all. So we're gonna have maybe this green candle to close above the moving average, the Bollinger Band, but still overall bearish. Things look like they're going to be going down a little bit more. Same thing applies to Ethereum. Look at this, Ethereum, 2 candles outside of the Bollinger Band, but this is mainly because we have a tight funnel right here. If you remember, the tighter the funnel, the biggest the explosion is. So tight funnel, huge explosion right here. Not so tight of a funnel, but still somewhat of a bottleneck. And then we're going to push, I don't know, maybe towards the low 1600s, but then we're going to have to reset because we're already getting towards the lower bands here on the RSI, on the MACD. So you have to look at Ethereum, and you can already see that I sold a call spread right here on Ethereum because I don't see it going up towards the 1749, the 1750 strike that I sold. So for me, it was a safe with a good risk return, in my opinion. Also on Hyperliquid, looking at the 4 hours, it does look bad. When I opened this, I thought that we were gonna bounce, but now in hindsight, of course, 2020 vision, I would have been better selling, a 72, 73 spread instead of the 60 and 59 that I sold. But because it is going down so fast, I still believe that we're going to bounce towards the 200 moving average right here in the 4 hours, and maybe that will hold me enough. It will hold above my strike for just enough for me to keep profitable. So that is my hope, just like we did right here. Remember, we got close and then we closed in a very tight spot, but profitable. Maybe this will happen right here as well, and I'm going to close profitable. Who knows? This is what I'm planning for Hyperliquid. Looking on Solana, I also sold some Solana calls. I just forgot to put right here. I sold a 75, I think, 75 call. So let me show this on Bitopex. If we go to Bitopex, here are the 2 positions that I have. I opened a 75 call on Solana and a 1750 call on Ethereum. Now, if you look right here, you will see that they are currently in the red, but that is because of the spread, the bid and ask spread. The medium price is all over the place, but I should be collecting around $140 for this, and in margin around $4,600 in margin, more or less. So not a better ROI in my opinion, but still something to keep an eye on price-wise to make sure things go my way. The copy trading actually had a little bit of a loss yesterday. So in the past 24 hours, the Bitcoin option strategy lost 0.88%, and the altcoin option strategy lost 0.86%, but still overall in the past 30 days we were profitable on the 0DTE, and on the Bitcoin option strategy we are 0.5% in the red. But we still have a couple of days before the month is over, and most likely we're gonna go back to the green with this one. I know it is a little bit sad to see these not performing the way that they were performing, especially if you're a little bit older when it comes to the topics. But the difference is that this is a different market than it was, let's say, last year, right? Even though we have some spikes in volatility, the overall market condition is not as stable and is not as simple to trade if you compare that to last year or even 2024, which is when the Bitcoin option strategy started. And it was performing very, very well. So Sven and the team is still trying to make the best performing vaults right here for you. Of course, when it comes to a larger sum of money, it gets harder to trade when it comes to a smaller position. As I said, for example, my own portfolio is up 30% year to date. So if you compare that to the 12-13% that these vaults have done, it might be a little weird because my portfolio is not as size, like it doesn't have $7 million in assets under management as these vaults do. So take it with a grain of salt. Of course, when you have a smaller portfolio, you can get better odds sometimes, but when you start to scale, let's say my portfolio grows to 100K, then it gets harder for me to get the same ROI. I'm not going to be making 3% a week anymore. I'm going to have to push back towards 1.5%, 1% per week, which is still very, very good, reliable. And if you're able to scale that up, and compound that throughout the whole year, it will be good. But the more money that you have, the worse it gets for you to get the same result, which is what we're seeing here with the vaults itself. But hopefully the market gives us some edge that we can utilize to make more money. Before we end the video, I just wanted to show this right here. This is what I was talking about the great rotation. You can call it a bubble. I personally we're not going to call it a bubble because I still think AI has so much room to grow that it's hard to call it a bubble right now. But overall, the market itself is very inflated. The valuations are all over the place. If you know SpaceX valuation is 96x or something like that. A lot of AI companies that will IPO this year. We have Anthropic, we have OpenAI still to IPO. They're also going to have extreme high valuations that don't make sense. Multipliers that are, 2 digits, high 2 digits, sometimes even 3 digits, they don't make sense. So this causes the market to be inflated. And I believe that eventually this will rotate. And this money will rotate towards something else. It can be other things and it can be crypto. And if we see that rotation in crypto, even if you get just total 3 or total 2 when it comes to chart, you're going to see huge inflows and that will trickle down. It usually goes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else. So I'd like to be positioned and be ready when time comes for me to take advantage of this. It can be by holding Bitcoin and buying more, DCAing at bright times like right now, or just, to go with leaps, or just to, keep doing my strategy with stablecoins, but still on Bitcoin, Ethereum, hyperliquid, Solana volatility. So using stablecoins as a way to generate income for me and cash flow for me. So hopefully this was interesting to you. Also, even though the stock valuations are the highest, the dividend yield is the lowest ever. Valuations are very high, but valuations are, projections. They are what they are. They're numbers. They're numbers for investors. They don't mean anything. Now, when it comes to dividend yield, meaning how much you get back for being part owner of the company, that one is at its lowest, proving that a lot of people care just the numbers and projections and future numbers, but in reality, these companies are largely overblown. Like the size are so big and it doesn't make sense most of the time. So that being said, hopefully this was a good video for you. Hopefully it was insightful when it comes to what to believe when it comes to market conditions. But let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. That's totally fine. We're in a place where you can disagree and we can at most agree to disagree in the comments. But let me know. Hopefully we can share some knowledge in the comments as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next week for another video. Take care. Peace.